It was a chilly autumn evening in 2002 when Dr. Ethan Caldwell finished his last rounds at St. Mary's Children's Hospital. The pediatric wing was quiet, most patients asleep or resting after their day of treatments. Ethan was known for his dedication. He would often stay late, double-checking charts, making sure every child felt cared for. That night, however, something felt off. The usually warm hallways seemed colder, almost unnaturally silent. Nurses passing by claimed they caught glimpses of shadows moving in corners, but when they turned, there was nothing. By 10 p.m., Ethan was supposed to leave, but he never did. His office, located near the pediatric ICU, was found locked the next morning, the door completely intact and showing no signs of forced entry. Inside, his desk was perfectly organized, personal items untouched, his coffee mug still half full, family photos in place, even the stethoscope he always carried around his neck. It was as if he had simply evaporated into thin air. Security cameras revealed no unusual movement, no one entering or leaving the wing during those hours. The staff's first instinct was disbelief. Could he have simply stepped out for a walk or been called away for an emergency? But the clock on the wall confirmed it. Ethan was last seen at 9:42 p.m. by the night nurse, and no one recalled him leaving the hospital. Rumors began to swirl quickly. Some whispered about him being taken by someone, others speculated that he had staged a disappearance himself. The hospital administration, anxious to avoid panic among patients' families, quietly contacted local authorities while trying to maintain normal operations. As the investigation began, strange patterns emerged. Phone lines to his office had been cut, but only after his disappearance. Files that Ethan was working on the previous day were missing or deliberately destroyed. Colleagues mentioned that he had been unusually anxious in the weeks prior, muttering about things being hidden and not everyone being who they seem. Some staff members recalled hearing him late at night, pacing, talking to himself, or maybe to someone unseen. These odd behaviors, once brushed off as stress, now took on an eerie significance. By the second day, the hospital felt haunted. Nurses and janitorial staff reported hearing soft footsteps echoing through empty corridors, doors opening and closing on their own, and fleeting glimpses of someone in a white coat disappearing around corners. Patients complained of a strange chill in the hallways and the sense that someone was watching them. The disappearance of Dr. Caldwell had turned a place of healing into a labyrinth of fear and speculation. Everyone wondered who or what had taken him, and why did the hospital seem determined to keep it a secret? Once Dr. Ethan Caldwell was reported missing, the hospital went into full-scale lockdown. Police officers combed through every hallway, every office, and even the ventilation system, looking for any trace of him. The local media quickly caught wind of the story, broadcasting news about a respected pediatrician disappearing without a trace. Rumors and speculation spread like wildfire. Some claimed foul play, others hinted at a voluntary disappearance. But investigators struggled to make sense of it. Ethan's personal life was unremarkable. His colleagues vouched for his integrity, and there were no enemies, at least none that anyone could identify. The FBI eventually got involved, drawn by the possibility of illegal activity connected to the hospital. Some old, incomplete patient files suggested experiments that were conducted under questionable consent protocols. Investigators began interviewing colleagues, family, and even patients' parents to piece together Ethan's last movements. Everyone painted the same picture, a brilliant, compassionate doctor dedicated to his work, but there were small details that didn't add up. Several staff members reported unusual activity in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, documents mysteriously disappearing, unusual phone calls late at night, and Ethan's growing paranoia about certain people watching. Search efforts expanded far beyond the hospital. Helicopters scoured nearby forests and rivers, roadblocks were set up along interstate highways, and neighboring hospitals were alerted to keep an eye out. Yet, for all the manpower deployed, the trail remained frustratingly cold. Not a single credible sighting was reported. It was as if Dr. Caldwell had been swallowed by the city itself, leaving no evidence behind. The community's sense of security was shattered. Parents were uneasy about leaving their children in the hospital, and staff began to whisper about the supernatural, claiming the disappearance might be connected to something far beyond human understanding. Investigators also dug into his personal life, hoping to uncover any hidden motives or secrets. Friends and family were interviewed for hours. They revealed nothing unusual. Ethan had been planning to attend a medical conference the following week, was close to his parents, and was reportedly in a stable relationship. However, A few colleagues mentioned Ethan's growing obsession with uncovering hidden malpractice within the hospital. He had reportedly been collecting documents, speaking with whistleblowers, and hinting at exposing certain hospital officials. It became increasingly apparent that his disappearance could be linked not just to his personal life, but to the secrets he was uncovering. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, everyday life had turned tense. Staff began noticing odd things: lights flickering in his office, the faint sound of typing at night, and whispers in the empty corridors. Some claimed to see fleeting shadows resembling Ethan's silhouette, but when they approached, nothing was there. These anomalies unsettled the investigation team as well, blurring the line between the logical and the inexplicable. Every clue seemed to raise more questions than answers. And as weeks turned into months, the case of Dr. Caldwell's disappearance began to transform from a missing person investigation into a chilling mystery that haunted everyone involved. It wasn't until a decade after Dr. Ethan Caldwell vanished that the first real clue emerged, completely by accident. In 2012, a janitor named Tom was tasked with cleaning out the hospital's long-abandoned basement archives, a place no one had entered in years. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of mildew. As he moved an old filing cabinet, his foot caught on something uneven on the floor. Curious, he pushed the cabinet aside and discovered a hidden door, almost invisible against the concrete wall. Its edges were coated in dust, and it appeared deliberately concealed, like someone had gone to great lengths to make sure no one ever found it. Tom hesitated, a chill running down his spine. The door had no handle, only a small latch that creaked ominously when he touched it. Inside, the room was dimly lit by a single flickering fluorescent bulb. He could barely make out stacks of old files and boxes, all covered in decades of dust. What caught his attention immediately were the folders marked with Ethan Caldwell's name, some labeled in red ink with words like confidential and do not open. At first glance, they seemed like routine medical files, but something about their placement, away from the main archives, hidden behind a secret door, made Tom uneasy. As he carefully examined the contents, it became clear that these weren't ordinary patient files. The documents detailed high-risk experimental treatments administered to children without proper parental consent. Charts showed unusual outcomes, some labeled discontinued, confidential. And handwritten notes in Dr. Caldwell's own handwriting suggested he was keeping a meticulous record of anomalies. Some entries hinted at pushback from hospital administration, implying that someone in power was pressuring him to keep quiet and destroy evidence. The realization hit Tom like a punch. Dr. Caldwell hadn't just disappeared. He had stumbled upon a dangerous secret. Word of the hidden room spread quietly among hospital staff who were still loyal to Ethan's memory. Whispers circulated about the doctor's courage in standing up to those in authority, and about what could have happened to him when he refused to comply. Some nurses recalled seeing him the week before his disappearance, looking unusually tense, scanning documents, and locking his office doors for hours at a time. Now, looking back, those moments seemed like warnings, signs that he had uncovered something that powerful people were desperate to hide. The discovery of the hidden room sent a ripple of fear through everyone involved. The files suggested a systematic cover-up, one that spanned years and involved people at the highest levels of the hospital. But as intriguing as the evidence was, it also raised terrifying questions. Was Dr. Caldwell's disappearance linked directly to these experiments? Were there others who had vanished after discovering the truth? And most unsettling of all, if someone had gone to such lengths to hide these files, how far would they go to prevent the full story from ever coming out? After the discovery of the hidden room, strange reports began surfacing from hospital staff, both old and new. Nurses who had started working at St. Mary's after Dr. Caldwell's disappearance described hearing footsteps echoing through empty hallways late at night. Some said the footsteps were light, almost hurried, as if someone was pacing or searching for something. Others swore they heard the faint sound of a stethoscope clinking against metal, moving from room to room, only to vanish the moment they reached the door. Whispers seemed to follow them, soft voices calling out names or murmuring warnings, always fading before anyone could pinpoint the source. Several staff members began noticing odd changes to patient charts and medical equipment. Files would be rearranged, monitors left running despite being shut down, and medicines occasionally moved from locked cabinets to open shelves. A few brave employees reported seeing shadows flit just outside their peripheral vision, fleeting glimpses of a figure wearing a white coat. At first, these anomalies were dismissed as hospital fatigue or stress, but as the incidents multiplied, it became harder to deny that something, or someone, was manipulating the environment. Fear slowly spread among the night staff. making even routine tasks feel like navigating a haunted labyrinth. Some employees claimed to hear Dr. Caldwell's voice, sometimes urgent, sometimes calm, warning them to leave certain files alone or don't touch the basement. One nurse recounted a particularly chilling incident. While alone checking on a child in the pediatric ICU, she heard a low, deliberate whisper behind her, saying, "They are still watching." When she spun around, the hallway was empty, lights flickering overhead. Another staffer reported seeing a fleeting reflection of a man in a white coat in a polished window, only to find that no one else was in the hallway. Over time, these experiences became too consistent to ignore. The whispers and unexplained occurrences weren't limited to new staff. Even long-term employees, who had known Dr. Caldwell personally, reported subtle, uncanny sensations of his presence. Some said that when they entered his old office, they felt a cold draft and a strange heaviness in the air, as if someone invisible was watching. Objects that belonged to him, his chair, his files, even a worn stethoscope, seemed to shift positions overnight, always just enough to make them question their sanity. It became clear that the hospital itself had taken on a life of its own, haunted by the memory of the doctor and the secrets he had uncovered. The fear wasn't purely psychological. Rumors began spreading among staff about someone higher up within the hospital administration who was desperate to keep the truth hidden. Some whispered that the strange phenomena were warnings, designed to intimidate anyone daring to investigate further. Others feared the worst, that Dr. Caldwell's disappearance was only the beginning, and that anyone who got too close to the truth might vanish as well. With each passing night, the hospital corridors seemed to grow darker, the whispers louder, and the sense of being watched more intense, leaving staff wondering whether they were truly alone or if Dr. Caldwell's presence lingered, guarding secrets that some would do anything to protect. It was 2022 when the Real breakthrough came, a discovery that would shock everyone who had followed Dr. Caldwell's mysterious disappearance. A graduate student named Maya, researching unethical medical practices, was digging through the hospital's abandoned archives, a place still avoided by most staff due to its eerie atmosphere. Among the dusty boxes and rusted filing cabinets, she stumbled upon a small, unmarked cardboard box hidden behind layers of old medical equipment. Inside lay a VHS tape, labeled simply in neat handwriting, "Caldwell, Confidential." The moment she saw it, a chill ran down her spine, as though the tape itself was warning her not to look. Despite the unease, Maya couldn't resist curiosity. She found an old VCR in a storage room and played the tape. The footage was grainy, flickering under the dim glow of the screen. Dr. Caldwell appeared, seated at a desk cluttered with papers and folders. His face was pale, eyes darting nervously to corners of the room as if he expected someone to burst in at any moment. In a low, urgent voice, he spoke directly to the camera, revealing that he had uncovered a secret society within the medical community, doctors, administrators, and influential figures who were manipulating treatments and silencing anyone who threatened to expose them. As the tape continued, Ethan detailed the experiments that had gone wrong, children harmed or left untreated, and the lengths the hospital had gone to cover up mistakes. His tone shifted from anger to fear as he described being followed, receiving threatening phone calls, and noticing suspicious activity around his office. "They know I'm watching," he whispered at one point, his voice trembling. "And if they find out I've documented everything, I won't get a second chance." The atmosphere on the tape was suffocating, filled with shadows moving just out of frame, lights flickering, and a sense of imminent danger that made Maya's heart pound. What shocked Maya most was the final segment of the tape, where Ethan hinted at his plan to disappear deliberately, to protect both himself and the evidence he had collected. He spoke of a hidden room within the hospital, a place where he had stored files, recordings, and notes that could bring down those involved. He warned whoever watched the tape that some secrets are dangerous, and that they must be handled carefully. The footage ended abruptly with a loud crash and the camera falling to the floor, leaving a grainy, distorted image of the office, and then total darkness. No one knew what happened after that moment. The tape's discovery sent waves of fear and urgency through Maya and the few staff she confided in. It confirmed that Dr. Caldwell had not simply disappeared at random. His vanishing was deliberate, calculated, and linked to exposing corruption. But it also raised terrifying questions. If the people he exposed were still alive and active, could they retaliate? And what else in the hospital had been left hidden, waiting to be discovered by someone curious, or careless, enough to dig too deep? Every shadow in the archives seemed heavier now, every sound more ominous, and the legacy of Dr. Caldwell's warnings hung over the hospital like a silent, haunting presence. Fueled by the shocking revelations from the hidden tape, investigators and a small team of brave hospital staff decided to trace the leads Ethan Caldwell had hinted at. Their search led them to a derelict wing of St. Mary's Hospital, sealed off for decades and rumored to be abandoned due to structural hazards. The entrance was hidden behind old scaffolding, dust-covered warning signs barely hanging from rusted hooks. As the team stepped inside, a cold, oppressive air hit them immediately. Every footstep echoed unnaturally, and shadows seemed to stretch and twist along the peeling walls, as though the building itself was alive and aware of their intrusion. The team discovered rooms rigged with old medical equipment, some still eerily functional despite decades of neglect. Patient charts littered the floor, yellowed with age and water-stained from leaks in the roof. Some charts contained sketches of procedures that were never officially documented, accompanied by notes in Ethan's handwriting warning about dangerous anomalies and unauthorized treatments. As they moved deeper into the wing, it became clear that this was not just an archive. It was a sanctuary and a trap, meticulously prepared by Dr. Caldwell to hide evidence from prying eyes, yet warning anyone who dared to uncover it. In one corner of the wing, they found Ethan's personal journals, hidden beneath a loose floorboard. The pages were filled with frantic scribbles, detailing his plan to fake his disappearance, evade those who sought to silence him, and protect the children under his care. He described constructing hidden rooms, planting false clues, and creating a web of misdirection. The journals revealed that he had known someone high up in the administration was watching his every move and that his life had been in grave danger long before he vanished. As the team read, they felt the weight of his fear, every word a stark reminder that someone powerful had orchestrated his disappearance for a reason. The deeper they ventured, the more intense the sensations became. Lights flickered without explanation, doors slammed shut in empty rooms, and shadows seemed to dance just out of sight. Some investigators felt whispers, subtle at first, then louder, almost as if Ethan himself was guiding them or warning them. It became impossible to separate reality from the lingering presence of the doctor. Each step brought a growing sense of dread, and it was clear that the hospital still held secrets far darker than they could have imagined. Every file, every room, every artifact they uncovered seemed to pulse with the weight of hidden truths and the specter of those who had tried to bury them. Finally, in a sealed chamber beneath the basement, they found evidence that tied all the pieces together, documents, recordings, and cryptic notes that confirmed the extent of the cover-up. The room was Ethan's final safeguard, a place where he had stored everything necessary to expose corruption and malpractice. Yet the air was heavy, as if the room itself was warning them to proceed carefully. Something about the chamber felt alive, an oppressive, almost malevolent presence reminding them that Dr. Caldwell's enemies were still out there, watching from the shadows. The confrontation with his legacy had begun, and it was far more dangerous and unnerving than anyone could have anticipated. The sealed chamber beneath St. Mary's basement held more than just papers and files. It held the culmination of Dr. Caldwell's life's work and the horrifying secrets that had led to his disappearance. Investigators carefully sifted through folders, recording devices, and journals, piecing together a narrative that was more chilling than anyone could have imagined. The documents revealed that the pediatric wing had been used as a cover for unauthorized medical experiments, some intended to test treatments on critically ill children without proper consent. Ethan's meticulous records showed that he had tried to intervene, but higher-ups in the hospital had silenced his efforts, threatening legal action, and worse, personal harm. Among the files were handwritten notes and drawings from the children themselves, scribbled in crayon and pencil, depicting strange procedures, shadowy figures in the halls, and expressions of fear that no child should ever experience. The notes were hauntingly detailed, suggesting that the children had seen more than anyone realized, an eerie combination of innocence and terror. Investigators noticed repeated mentions of the overseers, cryptic references to hospital officials who seemed untouchable, controlling which experiments could continue and who could speak about them. It became clear that Dr. Caldwell's disappearance was orchestrated not just to protect the truth, but to protect himself from those who would stop at nothing to maintain secrecy. As they dug deeper, the investigators uncovered audio recordings Ethan had hidden in the walls, capturing conversations between doctors and administrators plotting cover-ups. The recordings revealed threats, manipulation, and a cold calculation in silencing anyone who could expose the unethical practices. One recording, in particular, sent chills through the team, a conversation implying that certain staff members who knew too much had simply vanished, quietly removed from the hospital without explanation. Ethan's voice appeared on a separate recording, calm but urgent, warning that uncovering these files could put lives at risk, but hiding them meant the cycle of corruption would continue. The chamber itself seemed to hold an oppressive presence, as if Ethan's spirit lingered to protect the evidence. Investigators reported strange phenomena: faint footsteps, flickering lights, and shadows moving in corners where no one stood. It felt as though the hospital remembered, as though it bore witness to the injustices committed within its walls. Each discovery confirmed that Dr. Caldwell had not simply vanished. He had been forced into hiding to protect the children and expose corruption. The chilling realization set in that the deeper they went into this legacy, the more dangerous it became, because the secrets Ethan uncovered were not only unethical, they were lethal to anyone daring to reveal them. Finally, at the center of the chamber, they found Ethan's most personal journal, detailing the extreme measures he had taken to disappear safely. The pages described hidden passageways, coded messages to trusted allies, and contingency plans should his enemies discover him. Every sentence exuded fear and determination, revealing a man who had faced unimaginable odds and had sacrificed everything to protect innocent lives. Yet, as investigators read, a terrifying thought settled over them. Much of the truth was still buried, and some pieces of the puzzle might never be uncovered. The chamber confirmed that Dr. Caldwell's disappearance was not random. It was a carefully orchestrated escape from a system so corrupt, so dangerous, that even now, 22 years later, it could still reach out to silence the curious. As the investigators left the sealed chamber, the weight of what they had uncovered pressed heavily on their minds. Every document, every recording, every hidden note confirmed a truth far darker than anyone could have imagined. Dr. Caldwell had vanished not because he wanted to disappear, but because he had dared to expose a system willing to sacrifice innocent lives to protect its secrets. And yet, even after 22 years, the hospital seemed alive with his presence, as though the walls themselves remembered every injustice, every shadow, and every whispered warning. The chilling reality settled in. Some secrets are never meant to be fully revealed. The files, the hidden tapes, and the journals painted a picture of corruption so deep that revealing it could have devastating consequences. Yet hiding it meant allowing the darkness to persist. As investigators stepped out of the basement and into the quiet hospital corridors, the lights flickered one last time, casting long, ominous shadows. It felt like a warning. The story was far from over, and those who sought the truth would always be watched. For the families of the children, for the staff who had feared and whispered in the dark, and for anyone who dared to dig deeper, the message was clear. Dr. Caldwell had sacrificed everything to protect them. But the haunting question remained. How many others had disappeared, silently erased to keep these secrets buried? And how many more lives could be touched by the shadows lurking just beyond the hospital walls? Even now, 22 years later, St. Mary's Children's Hospital stands as a monument to both courage and horror. Behind its clean walls, hidden corridors, and locked doors, the echoes of a man who refused to remain silent linger. The files may be discovered, the tapes may be played, but the truth is incomplete, and the darkness that orchestrated it remains patient, watching, waiting. Because some stories, some secrets, are never truly gone. They linger in the shadows, in the whispers of the hallways, and in the hearts of those who remember. And if you think you're safe from the past, think again. For the hospital, and the mysteries it guards, will never forget.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.